And now, Detailing Success and PNS Double Black present the Renny Doyle Podcast, a podcast for blue-collar entrepreneurs. Hosted by the detailer of Air Force One and founder of both Detailing Success and the Detail Mafia, Renny Doyle. And now, here's Renny.
Good morning.
Woo! There he is. Let's see here if I can get this checkerboard laid out right.
Yeah, it's like the Brady Bunch, you know?
There we go. That's pretty good.
That's not bad. Good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing good, man. Better see your guys' smiley faces. You know? Another day, another dollar. I hope we all make a little more than $1, though. So Chris Williams just put out there, it's National Take. Hold on, let me go back to your lady. A Rose Day?
No, to Ross.
What's that?
Oh, he said Rose.
Oh, hold on. There you go. Take your lady to Ross Day. What the
hell? Sure. Grant, you have to have the Ross stores out there, don't you?
Oh, Ross, like the Marshalls version or the other Marshalls competitor? Yep. You know what I like great for?
He said like the Marshalls version. That's the nice way of saying it.
Yeah. Ross is the only spot the tall guys like myself can go find size 14 shoe. So back in the day, I was going to Ross to find shoes. You know, when it was like $15 is all I had in my pocket, I need a new pair of Nikes.
Dude, you could go ahead and say it right now. You also buy your Magnums there too. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, dude, wholesale and at a discount.
Actually, it's slightly used.
Well, our buddy Chris Williams, whenever he's on the road, he has to stop at every Ross he comes across. So, you know.
Wow. He's got to have a sandwich.
Traveling with that guy. It's hard traveling with him because he just points him out every time. It's like
he likes Ross stores, huh? Well, I saw something right when it clicked up and I lost it and I was like, well, hold on. What the hell did that say? You know, it said something. So I wanted to bring it up. I don't know. I just saw it for a flash. Still can't find where it said it. So, hey, good morning, man. So we've got some great people. Chris, Oscar, good morning. Good morning. And then Grant, what's up, man?
How you doing, bro? Long
you
time
good?
no see. Yeah,
I know.
Great.
He was just up here. We got to meet his lovely wife and his brother and his lovely, and we hung out and it was an awesome time. It was good seeing you guys. It was too short, but it's you know, I think you need to start coming to Big Bear every winter because we are now expecting anywhere from 2 to 5 feet of snow next week. So every time you come into town, it snows like crazy. So I think it's because your head rubs on the clouds. You know, it's kind of like seeing the clouds.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you've gotten around recently from Florida to SoCal and back home again. So.
Yeah, I was home for like 24 hours and then went out to see Renny, and then I'm home for a week and then going out to Austin. I mean, working with Able, taking this job on, I'm an in-person type of meeting guy. I mean, doing videos is awesome and talking to people on the phone is great too. Well, but my whole job is always, hey, see a person in person, no matter what it costs. Fly out there, see him for an hour and fly home.
You can go ahead and call out Michael Abens. I know he's a slave driver, you know.
Big time.
Well, yeah. I think the guy just is you know, he's just a hard, dedicated. He sees the vision, right? So, and you guys all do too. You know what's going down. So,
when he offered me the job, I looked at him and I said, "Michael, there's one case here." I said, "I need an unlimited budget when it comes to travel." I said, "Because I travel often, I travel a lot." And he goes, "No problem." I was like, "Sweet, that was easy."
Right on.
I thought, yeah.
I like the new R8 that you bought while you're here on his American Express. You know,
you like that? Couple.
Wait till you get that bill.
Yours is showing up on Monday.
Yeah, right on. There you go. Yeah, a little promotional gift. So we've got a great week. We've got 4 events coming up Thursday, Friday here in Southern California. So we're kind of doing a little mini tour of Southern California. I'm going to get some cool events, connect with some people just like you do, and I think it's so important. Yeah, I told one of the students from last 3 weeks ago, really lit up because we were talking about personal connection. We're going to talk about that even today. Is that so important to build those connections up? And he said he's in. Remember Houston, Texas, right outside of Houston, Texas. And he said one day he's sitting in a shop and all of a sudden he hears a performance vehicle pull up and he looks out and it's the Able R8. And here comes Michael walking into a shop just to tell him, hey, and thank you. And, if you're listening, Michael's probably not going to show up your shop. But if he's in the area, if he's in your area, I know Michael. I don't think Michael's ever told me, but other people, when he's in the area, he stops by shops, and I think that's pretty awesome. It says a lot about, the dedication and who he is, and the man and the mission. So pretty exciting. So Grant, those that don't know you, why don't you take and introduce yourself and your background a little bit, would you?
Yeah. So I'm Grant Menard out of Pennsylvania, just about an hour north of Philadelphia. I went to Penn State, graduated from Penn State, and got into the pharmaceutical industry, much like most of my town is, and jumped into pharma and loved it and just excelled kind of within the job I was within, but realized I just didn't align with what I was doing. And during the nights of working that 9 to 5, I was always detailing. So in 2018, I was at a men's group out in San Francisco and just realized I really wasn't aligned with the ethics of pharma, but I was definitely aligned with super cool cars. So I decided to jump all in and quit my job about 2 weeks after I got engaged. So I had the golden handcuffs and was, making the ton of money and having the cars and watches and the house and travel and everything I ever wanted. And then decided to leave it all behind and jump into the detailing industry. And that's what I did back in 2018. So I went all in on the business and have grown it to where it is today. We got a great detail shop, and then I kind of got into the consulting side because I had accelerated growth. I think it's been super slow moving, but others are like, hey, dude, you've done some exceptional work in business growth in a short amount of time. So is there any way you could teach me how to do it? So that's why I got into the consulting side, which is how I got aligned with Your Able, actually, becoming their brand ambassador and helping with these Your Stories, much of the one that we did with yours. And then late last year in 23, Michael gave me the call and said, hey, we have this national account position that's opening up. We compiled a list, and fortunately, you're the only one on it. So is there any way you want this position? And it was cool because throughout my life, I've always chased jobs and I've always asked for something. But this is the first time ever that somebody actually reached out to me and offered me something, which is pretty cool. So how are you going to say no to the Avens family, especially something that I've been a part of since 2018? I basically started my business and jumped in with them, and just how dedicated they are and how family bound they are and how loving it is. They're basically family to me. So I jumped in with them and now they're national account manager.
Wow. I think they're family.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's the power of building relationships too, right?
100%.
Well, and there's 100%. Nothing wrong with everybody looks at entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship is, man, there's a lot to be said about. Oscar's on that. You're on that right now. Entrepreneurship. Chris is too. It's if you even look at my greater story now of being involved with different brands, P&S, namely Dynabraid. They don't employ me, but we've got a foundation there that I'm an entrepreneur within them. And so, that's today's topic is winners have this one trait. They actually have a multitude, is how I said it. But, the story for today is, winners have this one trait is they start on the hard stuff first, or they jump into the hard stuff. They don't, the average person, and you can't be average and make it long-term in business or even within an organization, is that if you just work on the easy stuff, that's what the average person does. They work on the easy stuff. And so, I think that, it's a lot of people have closed-mindedness to doing something like what you're doing. So I applaud, all of you, yourself, You're Able for sure for jumping on that and seeing the value in yourself. And so it's pretty fun. And so, hey, fellas, I'm gonna start moving pretty quick. Jump in here because I'll get going 100 miles an hour. So when I tee off on something you guys dig, please, man, just shut me down for a second. So, hey, before I start, man, God bless America. I don't know. I love being. I love this country. I don't necessarily love the direction of the government of this country, but I love the country. I love the people of this country. And one of my heroes, if you read about Benjamin Franklin, the dude was, he's an animal. He's such a smart guy, but just the dude was, he liked to party. He liked connecting with people. He was smart as a human can be. But he put this quote out there, and I love this quote: "Is do you love life? Then do not squander time. That's the stuff life is made of." And, I don't remember how old he was when he said that, but he wasn't young when he said that. And I think what's happened is when you get north of 50, you start realizing some stuff about the journey. Namely that, the journey is quick. It happens quick. And, Grant, you said something earlier that, other people said, man, you just killed it. And to you, it took forever. I think that's another trait that winners have is to us is that, we're our worst critic, right? We're going to chew ourselves up. That's what I think that's why a lot of people target powerful people or people that are winners is because we ourselves target ourselves in some ways. Is that I'll ask this panel, like, this is a weird question. Are you satisfied? So I'm going to go to each one of you, and I'm going to answer it too, but I'm going to put Chris on the spot first.
Oh, you had to do that, huh?
You had to do that.
I'm sitting here thinking, what am I satisfied with?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely things I'm satisfied with. Go ahead. I'm going to go Oscar next.
I'll tell you that probably overall I'm not satisfied. Although when it comes to little different parts of life, I've become more satisfied over the years, and I don't think it's because I've accomplished something or I've gotten my hands on something. I think it's just because I've been more satisfied with what I already have. I think that's kind of where I'm at. But I also, I think I have a long way to go.
Oscar?
Yeah, I'm satisfied where I'm at. Me, prior military, so I've been in worse situations. And I've told you this up there, Renny, this last year and a half, like, no one's shooting at me every day. No one's coming after me. It's a different mindset that I have because I've been in different situations and lived a different lifestyle to what I'm living now. So I'm very grateful to be involved, with you, with Buff and Shine in the industry and just being around overall happy people. And, so very satisfied is where I'm at right now. Can I be doing better? Yes. But again, it's not about, the money for me. It's more about the people that I'm around. So I'm satisfied with what I have around me. And that's the people that keep me positive and keep me happy. Because again, I always work for the peace of mind is my thing. So
no one's shooting at you, huh? You got to come spend more time down this way.
Yeah, come to San Bernardino. Hey, I'll take you to my old neighborhood. Grant's been there.
Yeah,
I drive all through Southern California, so I've seen them all. But it's just a different environment than in the military. Right. Deployments and doing certain things. Being away from family for 9 months, 12 months at a time. It's a very different mindset. And my little travel that I do now, 10, 15 days at a month. That's what I call it, little mini deployments. Get away and then come back and reset. So
it's a great way to look at it. So, Grant, what are you satisfied?
100%. Yep, extremely. I actually remember the day I got satisfaction too. It was in 2020 when I went on my road trip with my wife or 2021, sorry, with my wife and my dog, and just took off 2 months and hit the road. And I realized at that moment when we were walking through Yosemite Park, had my wife, my dog, my family around me. I was like, that's it. I'm good. That's all I need. Left everything that I was working for behind. Didn't get to see it for months. Didn't even question it. And my life just at that moment, I was like, oh shit, I'm good.
Wow. Yeah, I had, overlanding does that for me, skiing to a certain degree. But honestly, now my greatest joy is three things. But I'll answer this is that, like, in the key factors of life, my wife, my kids, myself, my brothers, my dad, all these different, my friends, you guys, I've never been so satisfied. I mean, never. I mean, I've just been, matter of fact, my biggest thing is just trying to make myself a better person and allowing myself to share some of the dark sides of overworking and the bullshit side of it and the ego side of it and what's real and what's not to other people. So they can arrive at this, like at Grant's age, at all of your guys' ages. You guys are, a decade behind me. Grant, how old are you?
32.
Yeah, shit, you're 2.5 decades behind me.
I feel like I'm 65,
and that's great.
though. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Internally, I'm 65. Externally, I'm 32.
I don't think so, man. I saw your brother. You guys got a good gene pool. What's going on there? It's pretty awesome. So, it's cool because where's this going? I mean, we're talking about this one thing that entrepreneurs or successful people or happy people or winners and future winners. This is the most important. Future winners have this one trait. There's a lot of things that go into that. And I think being satisfied, when's enough. And I can tell you when you find that point, somehow, some way, more comes to you on the side of financial freedom. I mean, I'm witnessing that in my own life every day. And so, it's pretty amazing. So I've never asked anybody that question on here. So it's kind of cool. So, if you guys, I mean, you look at who's on today, our road wasn't a perfect, easy road. It's had its struggles. But I can tell you what, again, you can see the winners from a mile away. And I mean, Oscar as a DI and a senior DI in the Marine Corps, is you saw those young Marines that were just trying too hard. They weren't natural at it. And then you saw somebody that was allowing nature and the pathways to take its course. And there's a huge difference. And we're going to jump into that right now. So what stands out with winners? And this is where I really want you guys to interrupt me. So I've got 14 items on here. We're not going to go into depth, but the eyes of excitement. I just mentioned that. Real, but not ignorance on fire, is they're not forcibly sharing their winning attitude. Is it just comes out of every pore in their body. You can just see it. Number two, the tough guy, tough gal. Before I get into this saying, this is something Diane says, so it's not me. Some think that winners are just grown with huge balls, and Diane calls them peaches for women. So some of the biggest winners I know started one way in life. They started with pleasant hunger. What do I mean by that? Is that they were just happy to be there, and they're hungry to move ahead, and they didn't have to force feed themselves. They didn't have to force themselves on others. You can be at any level in that zest for life. Because I had a homeless person tell me one time, is that kindness can feed a person. Just being kind. He goes, I never go hungry because I'm not a homeless person, because I'm just a kind person that's in a situation. And I was like, are you hungry? And he goes, I'm never hungry because kindness pays off. I don't need to beg. I have everything I need. And I'm where I want to be. And I was like, oh man, that was powerful. And that was after our daughter, who was probably, 9 or 10 at the time. We went to a food place, and he was in there, and she refused to eat her dinner. She said, I'm going to go give it to him. I don't need this meal. And I said, well, you got to eat, man. I said, here, go up and get him a fresh meal. You eat. When they call it out, take it to him. And she did. And so when I went over and thanked him for being kind to our daughter, that's the words of wisdom that a homeless person told me. So, I mean, I was blown away. I still remember it. Wish I remembered his name. Kindness and humbleness with immense appreciation. I'll tell you, a lot of people don't know the importance of this. And it either comes naturally to you, which is a really special breed, or you learn it from observing. But a lot of people, I'm going to tell you right now, 60, 70, 80% of the people, kindness and humbleness with immense appreciation is not part of their DNA, is the majority of it. And so if you're going to get to the top levels, you either have it. And if you know you have it, you know you have it. You know when you've got kindness, humbleness with immense appreciation. Now, humbleness, everybody thinks that, oh, you know what? He or she's cocky. Listen, man, knowing your abilities is a whole different thing. And the people that say oh, he's cocky or he's an asshole or whatever it is, that's because they don't have that true humbleness. Humbleness isn't being weak. Humbleness is knowing when you have to take and bring a pry bar to a conversation or a sledgehammer to a conversation. And most people bring that sledgehammer, that pry bar within the first two sentences. A strong voice, but not an over-empowering voice to those they can affect. What's that mean? Is that we all know when somebody walks in, Grant's not his brother and him, big guys, man, both 6'4", 6'5", Grant,
Yep.
both you guys.
Yep.
I mean, big dudes. They're good looking guys. That's not what leads in the room. What leads in the room, honestly, is their smile, their humbleness, their immense appreciation for just the moment. They're living in the moment, man. I mean, I had not met Nick until this weekend, and I felt like I've known him my whole life. Why is that? Whatever the hell your parents fed you guys is we need more of it in our society. I like to say my kids are the same way, is that when my oldest daughter walks into a room, she's a little tiny thing, but her command presence is so great and it's such natural that it wins over hearts. It wins over minds. And that's huge. And so, seeing your brother, I was like, oh boy, this is, are your parents that way? Do you guys get that? I mean, are they?
Yep. Big time.
I'm glad you brought up his parents, because I think that's where that stuff comes from. You talked about the kindness, the humbleness, and the immense appreciation. Those are all traits that I know, are coming from the generation before you. And that's a big, and I think, big reason why we're seeing a lot less of it these days in people is because there's a lot less parent involvement. I get to witness that firsthand with my wife being a teacher, and it's really sad to kind of witness the destruction of the family and the lack of influence in these kids' life, or positive influence. And it's going to trickle down. It's going to end up in the next generation, the generation after that, if it doesn't get fixed.
Yeah.
One thing with that, I saw this in 2005 when I was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps. We used to call them the Super Nintendo era. Those kids went in there, and when Yahoo Chat first came out, they would go crazy by not having electronics in recruit training. So I can't even imagine what those drill instructors are going through now with the phones and all that stuff, because those kids, literally, we knew who the gamers were. We knew who was in sports, and we knew who couldn't handle. And to break them down mentally was very easy, because all you had to do is show them that you had a computer, you had a phone, and it would drive them crazy that they could not get their hands on that. So I can't imagine the generations going into it now at that point, that it is hard to break, because probably, I'm sure everyone in this call here played outside until the lights came on. And, that's a whole different generation of kids. They don't have that now. And I see that now with my kids, with my grandson. Like, the first thing they want to pick up is they want to get up and they want to get on a tablet and go to the electronics. And I think that's where it's coming from, is that those tablets, electronics, they're not teaching customs and courtesies. They're not teaching respect, and like you said, I seen Grant when I was at Air Force One, and I noticed that of him, what you noticed, Renny. Just the way he carried himself was just very professional, smiled. I didn't know him, and he came right up to me and goes, "Hey, how's it going?" And he introduced himself, and I was like, okay, stand-up dude right here. It's like, that's the first impression that you get. And I think a lot of it does come, like Chris says, the parenting. It's so easy just to hand over a tablet and be like, here, be quiet for the rest of the day, and not teach them anything.
One of our recent classes, one of the students came up to me and said, man, your daughter's handshake was intense. Like, she looked me right in the eye and shook my hand. And all of our kids that way. I mean, even at the struggles, our kids are good kids, right? I mean, in general, they had kid issues. That's all they had, right? They just had kid issues. And being raised by Diane and I, that's pretty amazing that they didn't have more issues, right? But it's also a reason why they didn't too. Is I like to rag on myself and Diane, but it's also why our kids have turned into amazing humans. But, it wasn't expected of them. We taught them, shake the person's hand, look at them, give them your undivided attention when you meet. But they did that on their own. Once they're witness to it, they just did it. That's, you bring up an interesting point, Oscar, and I never thought of it this way, is that even ourselves, I'm less addicted to my phone than ever, but there's been visions like when Facebook first came out, oh my God, it was fun, right? And it connected people, but then it started getting different, it wasn't fun anymore. And now, I hate to say it, I don't see hardly anything that goes on because I'm just busy living life. But I can't imagine in today's world of having these young adults like you just mentioned, and I never thought of it before in those terms, and they are completely away from the electronic addiction. is because it's become an umbilical cord to our entire society. And so, it's really interesting. As people talk about Trojan horses, go back in history in the Trojan horse theory, and people are saying something about China with having, different Trojan horses maybe placed in the United States. That was done a long time ago with social media and distractions and all these different things that they do. Is that instead of, you look at it from the military standpoint of bringing in people that are already a little stronger because they don't have that interference, is now they're a little weaker because of that interference, and then you got to break them down. And then how long does it take them to go back to their old ways? Because the addiction, the drug, aka social media and instant gratification, is right in their freaking hands. I mean, it's right there. And so, I'm getting ready. I'm starting to plan out the Air Force One trip, where I'm going to overland all the way up to Air Force One and overland back. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm going to order a satellite phone for to have in the overland rig. And the reason why is just for emergencies. But I was just asked this last week. When I came home, I was out for, I think 8 or 9 nights by myself. And somebody said, "Was it hard for you to be with yourself?" And I said, "No, it was a gift. I missed my wife. I couldn't get home. I couldn't wait to get home to everybody. See her, my wife, our daughter, our dogs, our horses, everything else. But I really enjoyed that vacation with me. I had no problem being on vacation by myself, isolated, no cell phone, just a couple of really great books, some great music, and appreciation for me being able to be in that situation." And so, Grant's probably what you kind of experienced on your trip when you guys took off and were in Yosemite. Is
Yep.
I think you just become immensely appreciative of just that moment and that time.
Big time. Yeah, we were gone for 2 months. We took off for 2 months, so it was like we went San Diego all the way up to Seattle and kind of did what you did the whole way up, and it was the most incredible thing, especially because you have no cell service. That was the best part about it. So we were forced. Yeah, we were forced to not be without, or to be without our phones, and it was the easiest. I didn't even think about it because you're with family, right? It wasn't just it was my wife and my dog, but my brothers were there too. Nick was there. He's been on the road in his camper for 3 years now. He just bought his house in Joshua Tree. My brother Ryan jumped on board. My sister Claire and my brother Reed came out for a couple weeks at a time as well. So it was just like, oh my gosh, it was awesome. Especially when you're with family. It makes it easy.
Yeah. No, it really does. Well, in that time with just you, the other thing is, I talked to Chris on the journey, but not a whole lot. I talked to Diane. We let her know when I was, when I was going to, go in and go out. That's the only reason I'm even going to buy a sat phone now, is just so I can let her know I'm safe, that I'm okay. But that one-on-one time, a lot of people are scared to spend time with themselves. And I'll tell you, this last trip, it just really opened my visionary eyes to just appreciating the moment. I have a good friend, I won't mention his name. His wife just had some recent hardships, and he came in. This is one of the hardest working individuals I know, and I know a lot of hardworking people. This guy's at a whole nother level. And he goes, "Renny, this whole thing is just such bullshit. This whole overworking thing." He goes, "Man, I'm telling you, I wish I could go back. Don't buy into it." And this guy's getting ready. He's close to retirement age, so he's about 10 years ahead of me. And I'm just thinking that, you don't need to kill yourself. You can have what you want and still enjoy the journey and do it right. Not quality time. It's time. You need time. And so, what other things stand out? Visionary. They're a visionary person. They're dreamers. They're planners. They're pioneers. They're doing all these different things. They're not afraid of risk, yet meaningful and proper risk assessments. They know the difference between just ignorance on fire and then a risk assessment. And so you look at all these things, I'd love for, Oscar's seen them, risk assessments within the military. Everything you do, every time you go out, anytime that you're going to do something, same with search and rescue teams, is that we're building a risk assessment. And that risk assessment tells us what boogeymen are out there, what could go wrong, and in the event that it does go wrong, what our assets are. And so there's a lot in that. People see that. These winners see that. Even sometimes by nature, is they go directly. They go towards the light. They're like a moth towards the light. They just head that way. This is really important. This is something I've learned. Just really, I've seen this, and I'm really proud of the current generation coming up. Is they shut down drama. Is that they're realizing that their capacity for drama within their life is low, and that life itself is going to bring enough bullshit into your life to where you don't need, near strangers or complete strangers to bring that shit in on you. Is just get away. As soon as somebody starts that, walk away, get away from them, because it's going to be a habit, and it's going to be a part of them, and it's a cancer, and it'll grow on you, it'll grow in you, and it can destroy you. Get away from it. Just shut it down. The other big one, these are some really, really good ones. The last 3 or 4 are pretty amazing. They build others up. They are willing to give people opportunity, even when they're at the same level, and they're working. Is they're going to give glory to other people. They're going to take and say, hey, sitting at a table, what a great job X, Y, Z did. What, such and such. I appreciate what you did. Is that even sometimes, and this is where, I've got a relationship I'm thinking of right now where I've been trying to nurture it, and it doesn't seem to be going the right direction. And finally, a few months ago, I shut down. I just don't need it in my life. But even recently, as I've tried to give kudos to this person to try to build that relationship back up. I don't know where it's going, but I feel good about it. That's all that counts. They give others opportunity. What I mean by that is don't push people down, help build them up. And a natural winner will pick that out. You can see it in sports. You can see it as little. I remember going back when we were 5 or 6 years old into Pop Warner football. And I remember my second season is we'd have new kids that hadn't played yet, because a couple of us we kind of beat the odds of getting in a little early, right? And these other kids didn't. And I remember the really good kids on the team that were really athletic fell into 2 categories. They weren't helping anybody because they thought they were it, or they were it and they were still loving and caring and wanted to see other people do good because they saw the value of teamwork. And so here they are. What it was at 6 years old, right? 6, 7-year-old kids that you can see those winners coming out in a team environment. And that was pretty amazing looking back at it. Also says something about the coaches, is that they're nurturing those leaders. You saw it in the Boy Scouts when I was a Boy Scout, is they're nurturing those leaders at a very, very early age. They have purpose in all things in life. 360 degrees. It's not 180 degrees like most get stuck in. It's 360 degrees is everything has purpose. I'll give you a perfect example of that. Is my wife and I cannot, and my wife's probably even worse than I am, walk by a piece of trash on the ground. I don't care where we're at. We could be in the slums. Is our pathway into, let's say, the grocery store, is our pathway, anything within a step or 2 is going to be cleaned up. On the way out, the same thing. Anything that's within a step or 2 can't do it. Now, is that a sign of a winner? That's a sign of somebody's heart. And I'll tell you, when they have that big of a heart and they can see trash that other people are walking over, people see it, they just don't do the right thing. But yet, those people that do the right thing, they're a degree above. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not saying that because I'm that way. I grew up that way. That was we just heard it. It was my grandma, man. You didn't pass by trash. You just didn't do it. You always, the thing was, you always did what was right, and leaving trash on the ground is not right. And then lastly, what I want to talk about is they smile, and here we're going to stroke Grant a little more, but I think that's part of it. And I'm just using his as an example. Is we've heard, when he enters a room, he's not working the room. He's being him. He's being natural. Michael Abrams the same way. I think that all of us on the call are the same way. I take, when I enter a room, I want to meet people. I want to see people I know, and I want to meet somebody I don't know. And sometimes it's hard to do. People that smile, they can have jacked up teeth. They can be the newest person in the room. They can be the poorest person in the room. But if they're offering up a smile to a stranger, oh man, you're my person. I got to meet you. So why winners tackle the hard stuff first? This is big. Well, the to-do list, it's Mount Everest, of tasks, that are taunting us. Mine doesn't taunt me anymore. is I do the hard stuff. I've got to do some hard stuff today and catch up on some hard stuff because we've been on the road. Doesn't taunt me at all. It's there. I like it. That's actually where my comfort zone is. And I've realized that when I get those hard things done, but most of them are things I absolutely enjoy to do, it's just commitment in getting them done. And so a lot of people won't go that direction. They're going to go to the degree of difficulty. They're going to go to a 0 versus a 10. That's just human nature. But yet real winners, they'll jump in there and they'll do it. Now, among us, Grant, you've been in the industry. What did you say? You opened up your shop in 2017, 18?
18, yeah. Yeah. I was like part-time, well, on the side, 2015. So that was just like
Gotcha.
time. But like,
So your first time you went to a live event within the industry, was it easy to see the winners for you? Were you starting to see them? Did they stand out?
Yeah, my first live event was SEMA. So I went to the biggest one possible.
Right.
Yeah, you could definitely see the winners, that's for sure. Well, it's power connection, right? It's those ones that, I mean, it's much like myself. I get a really good feel of a human when they walk into the room, just like you do, or like all of us do. So it's, who's a true person and who's kind of faking it. And the true ones are the ones that you're just attracted to immediately. So you could tell, especially at SEMA, you could tell almost immediately. The guys that didn't have the chip on their shoulders, even though you knew who they were, but they didn't even know who they were. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So SEMA was wild. That first experience for sure. But yeah, I could tell fairly quickly.
You do. And you know what? Sometimes I want to give credit to this too. Sometimes you're going to see a person, and I've done this myself. I'll own it. And you'll pick up that they're a powerful person. They're a winner. You might be even a little intimidated, and it's not because you're intimidated by them to compete with them. It's because you feel the aura around them, and you feel their ethos, and you view them as being so great already at just meeting them that you're a little reluctant to put yourself out there sometimes. And so I've been in those situations where I meet somebody, I'm like, whoa, man, this person's just dynamic. How the hell how do you get that way? And a lot of times I was that way. I just don't view it, and so, or I allowed them to mentor and coach me even from a distance. Is that I really try to learn something from everybody I come in contact with, good or bad. I really do. And so, it's amazing to go to these events. It's, for instance, I met somebody recently, and I met a lot of people. We all saw a lot of people down at Mobile Tech, but one person, they had a kind of an issue going on in their life, and they were asking me at the show. So I said, hey, probably not the time to talk. It's going to take us about half an hour. Here's and I don't do this too often. Here's my personal cell number. Give me a call. We'll walk through it. And the normal person would call up and then get through that task, and then it'd be over. But this person took and decided that they wanted me to build out their complete business plan online and Zoom meetings over the next couple of weeks. And I said, dude, I can't do this. I mean, I helped you out. I'm giving you everything I can, but I've got so much going on. I can't spend 2-3 hours a day on the phone with you. As a matter of fact, I can't spend 30 minutes a day every day for the next couple of weeks. I just can't do it. But what I'm willing to do is you make the plan out, send it to me, and just like a teacher, I'm going to put notes all over the plan. And boof, vapor, nothing. And why? Because they're wanting somebody else, and they might be listening. Maybe I'm going to piss them off. But they wanted somebody else to do the hard work. They didn't want to get in and do that work themselves. But yet, if you're not willing to build your own plan and then have somebody critique it, you're not going to really learn. You're not going to really know what the battle plan is. And so, there's an instance where how I would have handled that is I went up and I asked Carroll Shelby, the great Carroll Shelby, for one piece of advice. It took him 30 seconds to tell me, and he said goodbye. And I didn't hover over him. I didn't helicopter over him. Is that I took that piece of advice, and here 20 years later, I'm still talking about it. So let's talk about, something about, powerful people and winners is the mental monster, the getting through your own head. Some people are overconfident. I think most people are underconfident. I think there's cockiness and confidence. I'm not talking about cockiness. I'm talking about true core-based, in your bones, confident that you can do something. So what's your guys' take on that? You think, Oscar, do you think people in general suffer from true confidence in themselves, or do you think people got it?
I think everyone's got it. Some people just need to, find it and do it. Again, it's different backgrounds, different upbringings. But to kind of recap of what you were, overall saying, I think all of this just goes into just having a positive attitude. Being positive in every situation will make you a winner. And even if it's like, I don't have confidence, I don't have this, stay positive about it. Because if you wake up and you tell yourself, like, my confidence level sucks, like, I just suck, like, what are you really doing to yourself? You're deteriorating yourself from the inside out. Like, your day already sucks. Instead of waking up and saying, I got this, I'm gonna go on this podcast, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna get some work done. Like, it's that positive attitude. And I think that's what all of this, I think this whole subject, winners have this one trait. I think it starts with a positive attitude. I read a lot. I see these books. I'm, continuing education, just join Influence U, got books all the time. And it's like, a lot of it is just staying positive. And you will get there. And Grant said when he walked in the SEMA and he saw the winners, not one of them was involved in any kind of drama or negative or anything. They were all positive, right? They all had smiles on their faces. And a lot of times you can't fake that. You can only fake a smile so much before your cheeks start to hurt. And then you're like, I can't do this no more, So again, it's just the staying positive overall in a situation wherever you're at, whether you're building a business, struggling in the business, going through the winter. We got rain in Southern California. That's a good thing, It's a good thing. It rains, good. Go work on something in another part of your business. Go work on your marketing. Go update your able. Go do, what I'm saying? Like, go do all the things that you can't be doing while you're detailing. And again, I always go back to this is like, I think this industry, what we need is well-rounded detailers, not just the technician side, not just I can buff and polish this vehicle and make it look really, really nice. We need to build all around good detailers and good entrepreneurs and business people. But it starts, again, with the positive attitude. It's just stay positive in every situation and you will come out of it on top.
And that mental side of it's not easy to build up, especially as you start, as you build your business and you start to reach success, whatever level it is, things don't get easier. You just hopefully you adapt to making things easier, but you're going to have more complications, when you're successful than when you're struggling. I know everybody thinks the struggle time. Hey man, the struggle it's there. You just got to learn how to deal with it and how to control it. So, Grant, Chris, you got anything to add to that one on the middle side and kind of, thinking about productivity and middle block and all these other things that kind of happen within entrepreneurship?
Well, Grant strikes me as the kind of guy that doesn't struggle with being confident, but I'd like to hear what he's got to say on it.
He's kind of sensitive about his shortness. He's a little sensitive about only being 6'4",
If I got a choice in the womb of choosing 6'4", I probably would still choose it if I'm being honest. I don't want to hurt anything. I'd still be the same person. So it wasn't like I chose this height. I just got born with it. The confidence side of things is it's not confidence for me. It's just I just love connection. I've always loved just the power of connecting with as many humans as possible. My wife hates that side of me because we can't go to dinner and we always like to sit up at a bar and just have that atmosphere. And within 7 minutes of after us ordering, I'm talking to the other 6 people that are sitting next to us. So I just love connecting with humans. I love connecting with as many people as possible. So the confidence side of things, it's not like, oh, I'm super cocky and confident. It's just like I just like to talk to people, and that's all it is. I'm not afraid. I used to be, a little timid walking up to certain people, much like yourself, Renny, like before I knew you, just because of who you were within the industry. But like that's just an internal thought and blocker that I had that really had no outcome on the friendship that we've built. So when it comes to me walking into a place or, with my smile, I'm stoked because there's 100 people in the room that I have never met before. And I can't wait to talk and just hear about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
I dig it. Feel the same, see the commonality there is pretty intense. And I want to help everybody. But I'll tell you, my main focus, and I think it's from my background, is the person that's just coming into this, that's trying to take and get rid of the ball and chain, a job without creating another ball and chain, a business, and change their lives. And I can tell you, it's the same thing as that. Rod and Jamie from Griot's were just here, and both great guys. We skied with Grant. You got to hang out with us, and just I was really excited to put all of you guys together because I thought that it would be a good recipe for former fun or future fun. So while they're here, we decided that we're all into outdoors, right? So we're going to plan a trip, an overland trip, somewhere in the middle of the country, probably like Tennessee or Kentucky, where we all end up there for 2 or 3 days in 2025. And so all of us come from all over the country and meet in this one spot, the people that are really into camping or overlanding. And you guys can, I mean, it's not just that. If you have a Jeep or something like that, you can hotel it. You don't need to rough it if you don't want to, but we're just putting this together as something really fun. The reason why is because, you know, we come together at SEMA, we come together at Mobile Tech. We got this commonality with, you know, with the industry, right? But there's a bigger commonality, and there's a bigger, there's much more to be won over in success with our relationships becoming tighter. And again, back to that, you know, it's collaboration happens at the top. So we're in the early stages. It was a wild idea we had this weekend, and we're going to make that happen. You know, we're going to make that, because it's not, even for me to get back there to camp out for 2 or 3 days on the way out there, stay for a couple, 2, 3 days. I can hightail it home. I don't need to stay on the road. I can get home in 2 days, right? So it's not, it is a week. It's commitment, but it's a commitment for like-minded individuals. And so you don't have to have anything fancy. I mean, overland, the nice thing about overlanding is the tent, the rooftop tents aren't free, right? But it's not the price. The price of entry isn't like an RV or a trailer. You can get into it for pretty reasonable and have a whole lot of fun. And so we're going to take Chris's new Toyota truck and, you know, put some icon suspension on it.
Yeah.
You know, little portable toilet, you know, and
get that thing all
get him out
scratched up.
there. That's it.
I'm riding with Chris then.
There you go. Right. There you go. Yeah.
And hey, anybody that wants a rooftop tent, I sell them. So I'll give everybody a nice little discount on those things that they come out to them.
Oh, that's cool.
There you go.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. You see Chris, make sure to talk to him after the show. So, you know,
I just plug in where the local motel is or something in my GPS. That handles that problem.
There you go. And there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, but wouldn't it be a fun trip? And, you know, I can take and fit, you know, a couple people into mine. But if we're really decked out for that long a trip, I mean, I've got my whole back end filled, you know, being in the back seat. So usually it's one, you know, it's Diane and I, you know, and our dogs. Sometimes our horses behind it. But maximum, this is a big one. Maximizing your willpower. Willpower is I'm going to tell you, it's 100% you. Is you know, taking the task on and your willpower to make it through. I think that 80% of the businesses that fail, if they just would have had more willpower to go find out how not to fail, and they would have stuck around longer, and they would have got a second job, and they would have been educated. If they had that willpower to make that happen, they would be a success. But most people, they get to that. Norman, our buddy Norman, says it all the time, that maxed out at 40%. They get to 40% of their potential, and they're done. And even at the hover at 40%, they can't do it. And so even the military, you know, we all rag on each other, but Marine Corps is a whole different level. And I think that, again, I think that the Marine Corps is, you know what you're getting into when you go into it. You know, you know it. And I just think it's a whole nother level that, you know, most of the other military branches probably would struggle just to get through their boot, you know, their initial training. That's the same thing with entrepreneurs. Is most people are going to struggle just to get through boot camp, and then even before boot camp ends, they're washing out, and that's exactly what most small businesses do. You know, domino effect. You know, creating the hardest thing first, getting out there, those first 3 dominoes are done. If everything else collapses, those other dominoes aren't as important. Get that hard, important stuff done right away. Here's what a friend always told me. The most valuable thing you can do is when you get paid, get it in the bank right now. Don't wait to get payment. The second thing you do is that if it means income for your company, take that opportunity before you take anything else. Always go for the opportunity. Now, what that means is you don't ignore the calls coming in. You don't ignore the emails coming in. You don't ignore the text messages coming in. Is you jump on those things, because that's future pipeline income that's going to hit your company. Freedom for procrastination. is I'll tell you this. These are things that Chris put together. Is putting it off. Man, I'm not much of a procrastinator, but I do a good job of it. Meaning that there's things I know I need to do, and for one reason or another, I'll procrastinate on it. And it's not that it's hard; it's just usually it's a mental block, of something not my favorite thing to do, or I've convinced myself that it's bullshit, whatever it is. Most of the time, it's me convincing myself of something that's not fact. But procrastination is deadly, man. Get away from it. Habits, man. I'm so glad that Chris put this in here. Is that you get up in the morning, look at what you're doing as habits. We're humans. We have bodily functions. We have needs. We need nutrition. We need water. So you get up, you do your business, you brush your teeth. I get out of bed. I'm thankful. I do my habits of thankfulness, and then I go through. Everything that you're talking about here needs to be as dedicated to you getting up and brushing your teeth. Is I don't know too many people that don't get up and at some point pretty early in the day. I can't walk out my bedroom door without brushing my teeth in the morning. I'm not going to go out my morning water with grungy teeth. I'm gonna take, and now what I do, I can't get out of bed and go brush my teeth until I do my 3 actions of thankfulness. Is that I take and I say what I'm thankful for today, and I say what I hope to be thankful for, and I say my prayers. I do a little bit of meditation. I'm learning, getting better at that. So I'm putting a little bit of that in there, and that works. And so those actions right there are part of. I can't imagine starting my day without doing those things, but it wasn't an easy transition. Any of you guys got habits that you had to teach yourself to do? That was a question.
He's thinking about it.
I'm thinking about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, some of them we don't want to hear about.
Yeah. All right. So keep it PG.
That's it.
I mean, the habit of listening, for sure. That was something that I had to really work on. Was actually sitting there and listening and being present with a lot of the conversations I was having. There's a habit where I was always, asking a question and then thinking about 17 other things, which is how my mind works in general. But we can actually sit there and work on it to where you're super present within the moment, no matter what they're talking about. It brings curiosity to it. I mean, I live a life of curiosity. I'm super curious about everything, from overlanding all the way up to Oscar in the military and how, what he went through to get to where he is today. Like, I wish I could go and be in those moments so I could experience them. I'm just super curious about everything in life. So the habit of actually sitting there, being present and listening, with that curiosity as well, and asking the cool questions and the questions that people are like, wow, you went pretty far there, man. Like, but I was like, yeah, I was just curious about, that action or what happened in that moment. That was a big habit, and still is. It's still something I work on today. That is actually sitting there and listening and allowing myself to be super present within every single moment.
It's amazing because you said leave in the moment. I don't know if you guys will relate to this or not, but I've done a lot better job the last 2023 was a part of late 2022. 2023 was me being disciplined and living in the moment. And I would say that June of 2022 it started, and it was life-changing. But now that I'm better at it is when I have those moments where I'm not living in the moment, and maybe somebody's there, aka my wife, and I almost feel guilty because I feel like, oh shit, she recognizes that I'm not now that I've been in the moment more often and I'm better about it. She can recognize when I'm not a lot faster. I don't think she does. I think that I recognize that she knows I'm not in the moment. And before I was so not in the moment, I didn't care. I was oblivious to other people outlook on me not being in the moment. And I'm telling you, when you make that transition and tell me, I want to hear you guys if you got feedback on this. When you make that transition, you start living in the moment in your life, you're going to recognize the damage it does to others around you when you're not living in the moment and you're around them. is I've always done that. I just recognize it now. And I was like, man, that's sad. That I lived so many years of just having so many things going in my head that I couldn't slow down and live in that exact moment. And now I'm recognizing when I don't do it, which I guess is good because it's like a low fuel light on your dashboard. You don't always look at the fuel gauge, but when that light goes off, you sure do. You pay attention to where the next gas station is. And I think living in the moment's the same way. Is that before there was a light indicator on my dashboard for living in the moment, I didn't really pay attention to it, and I could have easily ran out of gas. So once I did put that light in, I stalled it by living in the moment more, is that I started seeing the actual effects it had on people around me. And that keeps me more and more grounded to not. Now what I'll do is when I realize I'm doing a task and somebody walks in the room or somebody's next to me, I'll say, hey, give me a minute. I've got to work on this, finish it up, and then I'm all about you. I'll own it and let them know what I'm going into. Or I'll look at the situation. Is this really warrant? My wife just walked in. Is this more important than her? And if it is, I tell her what's going on. If it's not, I just set my phone or step away from my computer and don't mess with it. She's much more important. Much more important. And so have it for me.
You reminded me, living in the moment reminded me a couple of years ago, somebody recommended a book to me called The Power of Now. And I actually never read it 2 years ago. And so it's on my list to read it again. You guys are looking at your book collections there. Do you have it?
I have it. It's out there. Yeah, my brother Nick gave it to me. Yeah, it's
but I was talking to a friend of mine. Oh, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, Nate Page in the Detail Mafia, and he recommended that book to me, and I'm like, I own that book, and so it's one of those things I got to stop procrastinating, right? And I got to read it apparently. But
I got something for you. One thing that I do is I stop listening to music at the gym, and all the books you see up here, I actually can find them on Spotify with my account. And I literally just find myself listening to books at the gym now while I work out. And it's really peaceful other than just listening to some kind of music to get me going. It constantly. So we'll do that tomorrow on the road there, Chris. I'll download it today. So when we're tomorrow driving to Riverside, we're going to be listening to that book.
All right.
That's it. And I bought you guys the book. It's how big is it in an empire exactly? That's the name of the book. Inside joke. So one of my most important things, we're going to start wrapping this up, is tracking and tasking. Is that, man, I am a huge task person, and I task myself every single day, but you got to track it. So if we're gonna work with. I sent out an email last night to Trillo. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I've been in it a little more, but there's a person in our group, Jessica. She's really mastered the app, and she's going to come in and work with Oscar, Chris, and I at some point in the next couple of weeks, because I love to task. It's been something that ever since I was a young boy, I've made checkoff lists, and this is just a modern day version of a checkoff list that holds you accountable, and it holds the people that you're working with on a task accountable because you can track it. So tracking progress and goals, mile markers, all these different things, you've got to do it. You've got to track it. And so, you look at you look at really successful companies and what they've done for planning and tracking. And it's really goal setting without a date is just a wish. It's a dream. And so we learned that a long time ago, and we live off that. So now let's take for a second to go 180 degrees backwards. When you see a winner, what you saw, we talked about that. Let's see when you see the opposite of this. I'm not going to say a loser, but I'm going to say a negative disruptor, maybe something that's just being pure ignorant. But these seeking fame and riches, it's all over the industry right now. It's all over culture. It's all over the world. Is fame and riches with bad intentions or pure ignorance? They're completely lost in what they're doing. Is that, and I'll tell you, that's alive and well, in not just in our industry, it's alive and well everywhere right now. As we have a wild west of players in the world want to become the show, but they don't want to pay the price. Is that they just want to earn a piece of the success. They want everybody else to give them a ladder to it. They want a step stool to get up it. They want all these different ways to take it instead of doing everything except for earning it themselves. Is a reliant on others. You can see it from a mile away. Is that Opportunity must be forced or gifted to them. Solo, they can't figure it out. They can't figure the recipe out. But I'll tell you what, is anybody that's around him and you see him attached to is there's a post coming around about groupies, and what a groupie is, and especially in the industry, is you can see these groupies from a mile away, and they'll cannibalize others to get ahead. What's the meaning of that? And I actually put this in there. What's the meaning of cannibalization? The meaning use of a machine, a source of spare parts for another similar machine, cannibalizing two broken down cars might provide spare parts to make one. They're looking at cannibalizing people around them to bring their empire together. Is they're not going and building an empire, is they're going to cannibalize at any cost. They'll say anything, they'll practically do anything, they'll make excuses, they'll go after people, is that they'll give reasons why, I don't follow that person anymore because of this. No, it's not because of that. It's because they know deep down they cannibalize that person for them to move ahead. Is they want the rainbow but hate the rain. They don't want to sit out there. And I got to tell you, Grant and I and the girl group sitting up here this weekend skiing, is if you're going to hit the rainbow, you're going to hit that rainbow and have the gold at the end of the rainbow. Is it continues to rain even when you hit it. Is that everybody thinks that, oh man, once I make it, you're there. No, you're not. You got to stay there now. But getting there actually is easy. Staying there that's where we're going to see, again, back to Diane's point, peaches. We're going to see if you have the peaches to stay in the game, because others, they'll bring the raincoat. Other ones they'll take that raincoat right off. They'll take it right off your back. They also create wedges. There's a lot of people that will create wedges. They start whispering. They set doubt in other people's minds. Is that weak people come together. It takes an army to take a strong person down. And you will see that all over society right now, is people are forming these, and I can throw a lot of names, and I'm going to here in a second, throw a lot of names out there of people that you look at. Elon Musk, man, you love him or hate him. You look at Donald Trump, love him or hate him, right? Is they'll create wedges to take that person down because they can't compete one-on-one with them. Also, these people are slow poison. What's that mean? They'll get in next to you. They'll associate with you. They're a chameleon. They'll fit in with you. They're going to fit into your world. But if you pay attention really closely, is one little drink at a time, they're putting poison in your drink. And you can spot it now. I didn't see it too easy. I had people around me spot it. I had people around me see it and warn me of it. But I thought, there's no way. I've won this person's heart over. They've won mine over. There's no way they're going to hurt me like that. And guess what? It was a slow poison right to it. Now, different strokes for different folks. You're not going to take in today's world one avenue. What's successful with others isn't successful for you. You can't imitate that. You got to do your own. Let's talk about some people. Joe Rogan. Love or hate him, Joe's done his thing. You look at his career. You look what he's done. Look at the success he's had. I listen to his podcast. There's some things I don't totally dig, but there's a lot of it that I do. Snoop Dogg. You look at Snoop Dogg, man. The guy's, you look at a guy that's, I don't even know how old he is. He's got to be in his late 50s, I think, close to my age.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think he's a beast. I love that.
He is, dude. Right? He's just he's kept himself relevant. And I just saw a thing. Martha Stewart's right underneath him on my list. Is that it's funny because they're doing a show a few years ago, and Martha Stewart was showing him how to cook something, and he goes, it's funny. The people watching this are going to think that I'm the one that went to prison. And if you guys know anything about Martha Stewart, she's the one that went to prison. This older white chick, right? But the dude's just, look at where his name is everywhere. It's on wine. It's on what did I just see him do? You just saw something new. That his image was on something. I was like, are you kidding me? Steve Harvey. I'm a big fan of Steve Harvey. Denzel Washington, Michael Jordan. All these people have got different marks, but you'll notice off all these people, some use edginess. They're going to be prickly to other people. Some just keep it classy, But even like Denzel Washington, somebody I really admire, is he'll keep it classy until you say something he doesn't agree with, and he's very clear on his feelings and how he feels about it. People I see that I'm close to in the industry, Grant, man. Grant he's himself, but he's either through osmosis, learning. He's learning more and more how to be a better man, how to be a good man. And Michael's the same way. Julio that was with Buffenstein for so many years, was over at Rupes. Bob Phillips, Joel with IGL, Bob Eichelberg with that was with Flex, that's now over with Lake Country. Tommy, that's with Angel Wax. Adam's Polish, Barry Teal, Megan. All of these people have a complete different outlook and way of life, but they're connecting the dots. They're connecting themselves. They're connecting with others, because that's really important. You don't have to be the mixed drink of choice for people, but you just got to be classy. You got to be able to connect, and people have got to be able to. What the hell do Snoop Dogg and I have in common? What do we have in common? But yet I admire him. 50s. We're both in our 50s. Did you look up how old he is?
Yeah, he's 52.
Okay. He's younger than I am. So he was in junior high when I was in high school. But, iron sharpens iron. As I age and become more and more authentically me, I will tell you this: learn the authentic you as soon as possible. Is authentically be you. Say it like you say it. Be like you be it. There's times I restrain myself. There's things I want to say to be a little too bold, or there's times that I want to say something that it might come off wrong. So you still got to read yourself right, and what doesn't need to be said. Do I need to be able to say it? And doesn't need to be said right now. Winners, even when they're losing, can be seen from a distance. Winners don't lose; they learn. Simple as that. They live by an ethos in their life. Everything is an ethos to them. There's principle. They can't walk by trash. They can't say good morning, good evening. They can't open doors they could never think about not opening a door for a woman or even a man or an elderly couple. Anything. They can't imagine not being polite and courteous. They can't imagine it. Simple things like that. Listen, the simple things will tell you how you're going to operate when things get difficult. Is that Oscar will tell you firsthand a lot more than I will. Is that when people get into stressful situations, is that you can usually start when the stress starts. You can usually point to a person and say that person's going to fall apart here in 10 seconds. Their world's going to come unglued, and they're going to be worthless to us to get through this. You can see it from a mile away. The opposite is true when you look over. And I used to work with a guy, and the second he would pop off the F word, I was like, oh, he just got pissed. He's not happy about being here. This is going to be awesome because he's going to get us out of this situation real quick. And it wasn't because he was out of control. He was saying that. He was just pissed that we put ourselves in that situation, and that was his indication that we're getting the hell out of here. We're not doing this bullshit. So the next time that you're looking at your to-do list, your stuff's going on around you, don't procrastinate. Do it your own way. Make people embrace the fact that people are your goal. Embrace the challenges that you're partaking in. Create higher productivity and allow your productivity to skyrocket. I've got timers. I've got 17 timers on my phone. At any given day, I've got anywhere from 8 to 12 of them set so that it keeps me on task. Even now, we go into this. So, Grant, want to close us out? What do you think? Can you spot a winner?
Oh, yeah, I can definitely spot a winner. 100%. Yeah. The other thing is, too, I can also spot a loser. And a loser, I don't say it's winners and losers. I always believe it's ones that are loved and ones that need love. So there's a big difference. Nobody's a loser. It's just they just need some love in their life. So,
good question for you. So how do you love somebody that's not willing to take the love? So there's a person
never felt it before. Yeah, maybe they've never felt it before, and you have to get down. Sometimes it's super tough to do it, but you have to get down and to where they are in life and down. I don't want to call it to a level because that's the wrong way of putting it, but you have to get to that point of where is this person really coming from, and who is this person really. And once you can get there, then you can start.
Get in the mud with them. Get in the mud with them.
And it's tough. It's extremely tough to do that. But I mean, my brother Nick, as you know, you met him. He's a master at that, and he's taught me a lot, and I've taught him too. It's in my whole family. So once you can get down to a person that's not willing to accept it, well, then get down to where they are and understand why they're not willing to accept it, so that you can understand how it is, and then just figure out what it's going to take to really start pushing it into their lives and getting up to that point of love.
You know, and there's also the fact of leading by example, right? But some people, you know, you can't force them to see how you're living. And I always tell people, like, you know, don't do exactly what I'm doing. Take what I've done and put your own twist to it. You know, is put you into it, and that seems to help. So, Oscar, Chris, any closing comments from you guys?
Stay positive. You know, stay positive and win. That's how I see it. You know, we'll bring you great peace of mind. That's kind of how I like to live my life right now. Staying positive and just doing things for me and others. It's gonna, you know, elevate everyone. So I think positive. It starts there every morning. You know, wake up, be positive. You have a positive day.
I dig it. I agree with that. Chris, what do you got?
You know, I have less to contribute. More of a question. I actually was going to bring it up earlier, but I never found a good time. But I want to ask Grant. You know, you got your hands in at least 3 different things, right? Your detailing business, the video side of your business, your Able, that kind of thing. I mean, what do you do to keep everything straight? You know, when it comes to, you know, accomplishing that important stuff first.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And that's just those. I mean, I have a lot more too. So I have my storage facility, I have real estate, I have car sales. I mean, I think I got 7 different businesses in total, which doesn't mean anything. I have 7 businesses, but they're all under one, right? So anyway, so I am a master delegator. I delegate every last bit of my life out so that I can live the life that I want to live. And when I say delegate it, it's parts I don't want to do. Like, I call it the 3 columns. So I wrote 3 columns down of everything that I was doing within my life because I was super overwhelmed and I really wasn't loving what I was doing at a moment. And I wrote down a column that says this I love you column. This is what I love to do every single day. This is all I want to do. This is how I want to live my life column. The middle column was I don't mind doing this right now, but I want to kind of pass this on maybe in like 6 months to a year and put somebody else in this position. Then there's the part of my language, but the fuck you column. Like, I hate this. This is the stuff that, like, we're talking procrastination. This is the stuff I hate to do. I don't know why I don't want to do it or why I'm pushing it off or why it's really taking me too much time, but I just don't want to do it. So that's how I started delegating. I filled out a job profile specifically for column number 3, that FU column. And the cool part is my 3rd column, my FU column, is somebody else's I love column. So when you're just placing somebody from the stuff I don't want to do, but they love to do it, and you just got to pay them to do it, that's where I started delegating. So with everything I have going on in all the different businesses, I have so many incredible people that surround me every single day that I call family. I mean, they're family and friends of mine, that I just delegate those jobs to. But again, they love to do it just like I love to do everything else I do now. So that's kind of how I've gotten to where I am today. It's just building a team. I build fast. I hire fast. If I start to hate something for a day, I start looking for somebody else to do it. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
That's cool.
Well, you can't roll out on anything any better than that. So, gents, appreciate it. Grant, it's always good.
USA, baby. I love the red, white, and blue.
USA, baby. Yeah, USA, baby. Hey, everybody, if you're SoCal, go check out our social media. We're going to be hosting 4 events Thursday and Friday. So come out. We'd love to see you. Grant, it's always good. Can't wait to see you in the near future. Thanks for coming and seeing us and spending time. I'm going to be seeing your brother. Going to try to call him in the next day or 2, and I'll be seeing him soon too.
Love you guys. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. You guys take care. Everybody, have a blessed day. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.